And we've all heard, I think, of the Mothman being. We don't know whether a Mothman being is actually from a different planet, but it certainly seems to be from somewhere that we're not familiar with and a type we're not familiar with. And this little being, bright, bright, shining eyes, according to the experiencer's description, and wings, and moves very rapidly. And this one, A.J. Gavard, and his wonderful reports of the Varginha, Brazil case. This is a depiction of one of those beings, and they too have very bright red eyes. They're very frail little beings, and they have these interesting sort of knobs or appendages on the head. And then, of course, we know about the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot creatures, whom many people believe may be interdimensional, or they may come from the ships, from other places. And yet, they seem to be dense and physical at times, but they've been known to also just poof, snuff out and disappear when somebody is watching them. And we'd love to have a real photograph. I have a friend who investigated Bigfoots in Southern California, in the Malibu area and the Mount Baldy area, which is in back of my town of Claremont. And she would go many, many times and camp out with a couple of witnesses with her, and they would hear the Bigfoot and smell the incredibly intense stench of the Bigfoot. So obviously they must be here living sometimes, and yet they may go into a different dimension. Several people of a reptilian being with the unusual skin texture and the eyes that are usually bright yellow with a vertical slit. And here's another one. They're typically very well built. Often they're quite tall, 6 feet, 6'5", very muscular, looking in build like a human athlete. And here's another one. They always seem to come across as very intense in their gaze, can be a bit disarming. And yet when some people have regressions to experiences with them, they turn out to not be frightening once you kind of get used to the different look. Many of them are very interested in human sexuality, but they're interested in other aspects as well. And here's another one. How would you like to suddenly find yourself on a craft and looking at one of these? They very often will wear armor or sort of like heraldic clothes. Like this one, he likes to dress up in a cape. And you can see that he's got long pointed talons at the end of his fingers. A number of different kinds of beings wear the stand-up collar like that. And Nadine, my co-author again of Alien Experiences, had encounters with this type of reptilian being and did this. And this one has knees that she said never straightened up. They always seem to be bent, even though he was standing and walking. Sometimes people see beings like this, and they're not sure if this is a human being. They encounter this type on a craft, or whether it's a hybrid being. But we're getting more now toward more human-looking types. And there are many different types who come from other planets, and like this one. And they usually are fairly tall, nicely built, very attractive features from human point of view. Nice hair, typically blonde, typically blue eyes. And Kasara's depiction of a male and female, human-like ETs. One of the things that stands out as being different about them is that they rarely show much change of expression. They may experience or sort of express caring or lovingness even through their eyes, but their faces don't move. They just don't have the musculature in their face. Perhaps they don't have the emotion that we have. Many beings apparently don't. And here's another human type. Very often we call these the Nordics because they have sort of Scandinavian, very clean-cut features and blue eyes and blonde hair. And typically they have a very intense gaze, as this one does, very typically have blue eyes.